I moved to another country for my wife and now it's ruining our relationship. How can I convince her that it's not her fault? Last year, my wife and I moved from the US to Europe. I took a job that I knew I wouldn't like as much as my old job, but I thought it would be fine. I knew that what I really wanted at that point in my life was to put down roots and to focus on my work and building a community of friends. I fell out of touch with a lot of people during COVID, but I also knew that living in another country was one of my wife's lifelong dreams, and I wanted to make it happen before we started thinking about having kids, even if we just lived abroad for a few years. As a kid, I saw my own parents' relationship go south because they were each unwilling to make compromises for the other, so I really thought this would be a good idea, a way to avoid becoming just like them. Problem was, I wasn't really honest with my wife about my feelings. Deep down, I didn't really want to move, but I didn't tell her this. I told her that I liked the idea of living in another country for a time. It would be a fresh start after COVID. Of course, liking the idea of something is not the same as actually wanting to do it or thinking that it would be good. Anyways, shortly after moving here, I began to strongly dislike my job. As a teacher, I see what I do as a mission, and I take very seriously the vision that a school has and how it impacts its pupils. This new school was terrible, not managing behavior and not holding students to high academic standards. Kids got away with everything. I couldn't do it. I would cry in my classroom during free periods sometimes. I decided to quit, but in order to keep us in the country, I needed to do something. So I decided to go back to school. However, now we were only on one salary, and now we would be paying for a graduate degree. Over the past year, we've had to dig deep into our savings, and that impacts one of my dreams of owning a home. I'm not really interested in what I chose to go back to school for. I think I might still want to be a teacher. I don't know, I probably have to give my new field at least a try. But I feel like I've made so many mistakes, bigger mistakes than I've ever made before. I'm not good at hiding my emotions, hence the crying earlier, so my wife has seen how this past year has impacted me. I've told her a lot of these things. I've told her that I regret a lot of the decisions I've made, and that if I could go back in time I would have kept us from moving. As a result, she feels this huge burden, like she's ruined my life. So now she's depressed, and on top of that she's always trying to do things for me. She never wants me to lift a finger. She'll get angry at me for cleaning dishes or cooking, but then she also seems angry when I don't do anything. When we sit down at the end of the day, we barely talk. I try to tell her that I don't blame her, that even in every decision we've made together, I've consented. I've also made a lot of decisions on my own, quitting job, going back to school. But because those decisions were in service of a thing only she wanted, living abroad, she still feels that it's her fault that I'm not happy. I don't know what to do. If you can think of something I could say that could change her mind, that would be helpful. I also know that I might just be the problem. Maybe the problem is that I can't be happy. I was depressed during COVID, and I'm depressed now. And maybe asking her to enjoy herself while I'm depressed is just not a fair thing to ask. Sorry for the essay, but I just really need help. Comment. My dude, for your wife's sake, get your shit together. You agreed to this move, and now you may not love it, but dragging her down with your misery is just going to end up with two unhealthy and unhappy people instead of one. I hope you're the type of man who will do anything to make his wife happy. In this case, doing so means finding some joy in your own world and not wallowing in regret. I don't know what country you're in, but I know there's not one single place in Europe that isn't full of culture and history and interesting people. The time to bail on this plan has passed. You agreed, so now you see it through for the few years you'll have to be there. Learn a skill, start a hobby, immerse yourself in the history and culture, and have some fun. I bet you'll find a way to make some money while doing it, too. Are you getting any help for your feelings of depression? It seems really possible that a lot of the issue here is just depression, seeing as you were already depressed before the move. Also, do you have any community where you're at? Is there an expat community you could connect with? Next story 2. I'm losing my fiancé and I don't know what to do. My beautiful fiancé is going through some very difficult times and I'm afraid of losing her. I'll spare you the cheesy details, but she is genuinely the most incredible, smart, gorgeous, and kind woman to ever exist, no exaggeration. However, she's been struggling lately. She works in modeling, runway mostly, and the industry is very competitive and harsh from what I've gathered. This has taken a massive toll on her self-esteem and image to the point she's been crying every day because she's convinced her face is ugly. She has also developed body image issues and struggles to eat in fear of getting too fat. She keeps picking apart parts of her that are perfectly normal and beautiful, and it hurts me to hear her say that. I try really hard to be supportive and get her to eat at least something every day because otherwise she won't touch food for days. It worries me. I want her to be healthy and happy, that's really all that matters to me. On top of those, she also has not been on good terms with her parents this past year, which is also affecting her mental state when it's already pretty bad. I don't really know where I'm going with this, I'm sorry, but I guess I'm just desperate. I can feel her slipping through my fingers, as they say. Her eyes just look so sad every day. It feels like she's on some sort of autopilot and merely surviving rather than living. I miss seeing her smile, being excited about food and her hobbies. I miss her jokes and banter. Don't get me wrong, our relationship is as strong as ever and she is really trying her best to get better, with therapy and working on her problems with food and her body, which I'm immensely proud of her for doing. I make sure to be extremely supportive and gentle, giving her time to process her feelings, listening to her whenever she needs an ear, doing all the things she loves and cooking her favorite food, anything I can think of. But I feel everything is only spiraling downwards. She is a shell of the woman she used to be, and it kills me to watch. I'm still madly in love with her as I was from day one, and I always will be no matter what happens. But she's slipping away and it terrifies me. I can't lose her. Comment. She is doing all the right things, but she needs time. Everyone makes progress at different speeds, and there's no telling how much time she'll need. Especially given that on top of all this she is also 20, she is still finding herself. And the engagement. She was only 17 and you were 25 when you started dating. No matter how much you don't intend for there to be a power imbalance, there is by sheer virtue of your several more years of life experience. She was still in high school while you have been in college and or have started a career. If you had been 27 and 35, no problem. But at 17 and 25, this is just not okay. She is not and was not mature enough to make an informed decision about dating you. She needed to date people closer to her age. I'm really sorry to hear about the challenging situation your fiancé is going through. It's clear that you care deeply for her well-being. It's great that she's seeking therapy, and your support is undoubtedly crucial during this time. Encourage her to continue with therapy, and consider attending sessions together if she's comfortable. Additionally, helping her find ways to engage in activities she once enjoyed, and reminding her of her strengths and positive qualities, could be beneficial. Keep communicating openly about her feelings and let her know you're there to support her. If her mental health deteriorates further, it might be advisable to involve mental health professionals for guidance on the best course of action. Remember to take care of yourself too, as supporting someone through such difficulties can be emotionally taxing. This is just my opinion from my experience. I do not claim to know the best way with this topic. As a former bulimic and then anorexic, I would advise you to not make all your conversations about food, and if you do make food, make sure it is something she won't get anxious about. It's not necessarily making her favorite food, but something she is comfortable with. For example, I couldn't eat anything bread/pasta based but could eat a plate of vegetables without feeling awful. This will encourage her to eat. Yes, tell her how beautiful she is all the time, Tell her she is very skinny, and even though she is beautiful as she is, you find her more beautiful with a little weight on her. Again, I would have thrived on these things, but she is not me. It's just my suggestion.